Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Um, I've talked to a lot of schools and universities back east. I came here for a visit from Boston. So so far, when I've talked to kids, nobody's fallen asleep. That's good. In high school, sometimes there are a couple of boys, in the back. Um, so I wanted to show you this little book. It's called My Two Cities. And it's a children's book, which author and I wrote together. And it's about, basically, it's for children like between 7 and 11. It's in verse. And it tells about me coming with my doll from Vienna because I still have the doll. So when I go to visit schools, I bring the doll. I also have a suitcase that still came with us. So I was born in Vienna in 1930. Um, I guess to a pretty well-to-do family. My father was a physician. We lived in an apartment house overlooking a park where we always played. So it was my parents, my sister, we had a cook and a maid and, all kinds of help. So life was good, And then there was a referendum in March whether Austria wanted to join Germany. And my father, who was a social democrat, telephoned his friends, said, you need to vote, even though he didn't like the present government, but was better than the Nazis. So, but then the referendum was canceled in the last minute. On March 12th or 13th, there was a dance recital my sister and I were in. And so we went on a streetcar with my mom, and there was hardly anybody in the audience, just a few parents. And on the way back on the streetcar, the men had turned the tails of their coats to show this. Didn't know what that was, but my mom did. And that evening, and then there were planes overhead, and then this is what I remember,
What year
I'm
was
just
it?
telling you what I remember.
38?
The Schuschnigg, the chancellor, made a speech and said, in order to avoid bloodshed, I'm going to allow the German forces to come into Austria. And then he said, God bless Austria. And that was the end of that. Now, between 1933 and 38 in Germany, the laws against Jews were implemented gradually. But by the time it came to Vienna, it was quick. It was like just a couple of weeks. So I'll just tell you quickly what happened. We couldn't go to school anymore, which we didn't mind at the beginning. Okay. My father, who could not practice medicine, he had a big practice of, it was like socialized medicine, and then he also had private patients. So both of those were stopped. So he had no income. One day we went to my uncle's house in a different part of the city, and our cook called and said, "Don't come home because the SS is plundering the kindergarten." That there was a Jewish kindergarten on the bottom floor of our apartment house, and they're throwing everything out on the street. So don't come home yet. And so my father went first to make sure it was safe. The SS had put their headquarters right down. So we were on the third floor, and there was a guard adjacent to the building. The balcony overlooked that. We always played on the balcony. And one day, I had my doll, Lily, which we still have. And it was all wrapped up in it. And I don't know how it happened. It fell into the garden. My mother said, if you're very polite, you can get your doll back, and so went down, made a curtsy. Oh, and I got my doll back.
Oh, good.
But couple of days later, there was a knock on the door, and I opened the door, and this SS man, with black uniform, he put his cap down, and I was so scared because it was the skull of the crossbones. And it came in order to hang a banner, SS banner from our balcony down to their headquarters. So after that, we didn't play on the balcony anymore. Now, my father was summoned to the police. SS man went with him. But as he left, he ran into our mailman, who was also a social democrat. And he said, well, Dr. Ehrenthal, where are you going? He said, well, I've been summoned to the police. So the mailman said, well, I'll go with you. And pretty soon, because these were all patients of my father's, the butcher and the baker and the fruit guy, they all went with my father. And I think it must have been early on, maybe in April, because they let him go. But I think it was a good example how people who were not Jewish, stuck their necks out.
Yeah.
They loved my father. And the same thing was true of my mother, because she was the doctor's wife. And she didn't have to scrub the sidewalks, which, the Jewish women had to do to erase the emblems of the Austrian. So my father's car was taken and Aryanized, but he couldn't use it anymore. He had to pay for the maintenance and the oil and everything, but he couldn't use it. But in those days, physicians made house calls. I mean, he made house calls at night. So I was just reading about it. Someone called him and he didn't have the car, called him from the other part of the city. And
Come here.
you have to walk there. And when he got there, it was all a joke. So things were getting from bad to worse. And my father was very foresighted. He had gone right away to the American consulate. And okay, here's the interesting thing. He was born in Trieste, which, is now Italy. But before World War I, it was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So he was Austrian. But when he went to the consulate, they put us down as Italian.
Come here.
And so we were in the Italian quota. And the Italian quota was not filled. So while I'm here,
Oh, sorry.
if I'd been on the Austrian-German quota, we would not have gotten on. So that's briefly the story. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. But you have to speak loud, and Kathy will repeat because I'm very hard of hearing.
I do.
This is less a question than just a comment. My parents were from Vienna. And in the 10 minutes that you've talked, you have shared more than they ever shared with me about the Anschluss. And I really appreciate that. They were older. They were born in 1914 and 1920.
Did they come here?
They eventually made their way. It's a long story, and I don't want to interrupt yours, but I want to just say I really appreciate that you're sharing it. And a couple of the things that you told, I've read in history.
Those are the when I talk to kids, I really like to talk to kids that are like in English as a second language because they're immigrants, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to. I'll pass this around. It's a really cute book. And I think near the end. Hold on just a sec.
Honey, while you're looking for that, the one thing, my mother was also in Vienna, as I told you. I was not aware that there was a referendum before the Anschluss.
But it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
They canceled
They
it.
canceled it in the last minute.
But it would have been against how the Because clearly the people were against having the Nazis come in, most likely, but that's probably what I think why it didn't happen
Strength for a very enthusiasm.
once they came.
Okay, I just wanted to give you this because it's what I do with the kids, you know. I started fourth grade, but the words were all new. I didn't speak English. What would I do? I didn't know what the other children were saying. I didn't know how to play the games they were playing. The girls and boys would look at me and stare. They laughed and made fun of my clothes and hair. At home with Lily, that's my dog, I felt safe and sound with grandma's cooking swirling all around. I learned English. I made friends after a while. I played jacks and shadow tag and found reason to smile.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, I want the immigrant children to know, you know, I tell them that it's important to keep your old culture, but to accept what's new, what's good in America. Not that everything is good right now. I try, it's hard not to bring politics into it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, what about your other relatives?
I'm sorry.
What about your relatives, like your
Relatives.
grandparents and your aunts and
So
uncles?
my grandmother, I would call her Monty, she lived around the corner. But you see, they had house searches. Oh, I didn't tell you about that. And my grandmother got very nervous and she moved in with us. But my father knew that there were house searches and it went mainly looking for good. And he had this whole set of journals called Die Fackel, the torch, and it was kind of left wing. It was not communist, but you know, social democrat. We had a big stove, tile stove. He burned all those journals, half his library. And pretty soon the neighbor from upstairs, Hans Floch, came downstairs. He said, "Do you have room in your stove? Because mine is overheating," because he was also burning his books. So my grandmother's family was all in Czechoslovakia. And my father told them, "You need to start to get out because Hitler's going to come to Czechoslovakia." And they said, "Oh no, Hitler will never come here."
Mm.
So they all perished in Auschwitz except for one cousin named Haiti, who survived various camps, concentration camps, and DP camps. And eventually, my father eventually she went back to Czechoslovakia, but her young husband, whom she had married, she was only 17. He had died of starvation. My father said he would adopt her, but it took a long time. So after 2 years, she kind of wrote rather sheepishly that she had met a man who had lost his wife and they were getting married. And so she went to Australia and never told her daughter about what had happened, ever. The daughter, Eva, was baptized, brought up as a Christian, told that the numbers were telephone numbers so they wouldn't forget. And when Eva was 40, she finally persuaded her mom, Haiti, to tell her about her family. And Haiti wrote a letter, and that's expanded into a long memoir, which is amazing, about Haiti. I mean, that's another story.
Well,
So we're still in touch with Eva.
we're very appreciative that you found some time to share your story with
I
us.
know you have other things.
Well, we do. May I just add one
Question
quick?
about how she gets her gigs.
Right. Well, I first heard from Kathy that you work independently outside of the framework of a group and that you somehow get speaking engagements generated nonetheless.
I wrote to the principal at North High School. I asked whether anybody in the history department was teaching Holocaust. And he's getting back to me as to when. Same with Bigelow Middle School. I don't know if you know about the Terrazine Music Foundation. Terezin was the concentration camp.
My mother,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Where there were many, many.
My mother was there.
composers and artists and so on. It was more or less a transition camp before they were shipped out. There, someone got the name of Mark Luther is it a Terezin Music Foundation in Boston. They play music that was composed in Terezin.
Hmm.
And he teaches a course on Terezin at Boston University. So he asked me to speak there. And that led to another speech at Tufts University. So it's at that point.
Shelley, I think part of your presentation is about your return to terrorism.
yeah, my mother was in Terezin. And I talk about how, it was a model camp for the Red Cross and that they had a little orchestra. And I have a book, The Artists of Terezin, of all the artwork that the inmates,
Oh, and what?
the artwork,
Yeah.
the artwork that
Yes.
the inmates would paint. But I'd be very interested to find out about the Terezin Music Foundation, find out about it.
Put you in touch.
Yeah, maybe Stephen, I can connect.
And then we can send a link out.
Get emails and, whatever.
There's also the Verdi Requiem that they sang
Oh,
in Terezin.
my God.
They had a chorus and actually smuggled instruments in and
Wow.
played the Verdi Requiem for the SS.
Wow.
Played the Verdi Requiem on the radio yesterday.
Yes.
Beautiful piece of music.
Yeah. Just a quick comment and a question. The comment is, one thing that my father did tell me, and it gives credence to what you said about the unique fast changes of things. He told me that in one night, overnight, they changed the direction of traffic. That is, originally they drove on the left. And that in one day, the Nazis changed everything to drive on the right.
I didn't know that.
I mean, he was into cars and that
That's
stuff
everything changed very, very.
very fast. The question was, I didn't hear, did you come to Boston? Is that where you came or where did?
We couldn't come directly because the entrance visa was missing. We went to Italy first, waited for that, and then went through France and shipped in the Hanover. And then came to, it was very, very stormy on the passage. And when we got there, we took the train from New York to Boston and we saw all these houses collapsed and trees down.
Oh.
And my sister knew a little bit of English. My father said, ask the conductor what happened. And she came back, she said, hurricane. It was the famous hurricane of 1938.
Yeah.
It came all the way up the East Coast.
How did
But
you
we didn't
choose,
know what a hurricane was.
how did you choose Boston? Was there
Right.
family there?
Affidavit, you have to have an affidavit
Right.
from someone in this country to vouch for you.
Mhm.
My father had a colleague from medical school by the name of Felix Deutsch, who lived in Boston
Mhm.
and sent us affidavits. Got my father a job as I don't know, as a lab assistant or something. My father had to learn English and pass the medical boards. He did that.
Wow.
And there's also another book called Dear Otto, which my sister put together. Because after we came here, my father got all these letters. His first name was Otto, but all these letters from friends and relatives. Dear Otto, help us to escape.
My
And he managed to get
Dear
to
Otto.
find Americans who would send affidavits. I think in 22 families came out. Not everybody, but 22 managed to get out. And my sister, after my father died, he was very organized, had all the correspondence between Red Cross and Hayes and this and that. And so she put it together, this book called Dear Otto. It was published by the Vermont Holocaust Center. And it's very And we didn't know about that. We were just kids, you know. We were busy learning English, which incidentally took me 6 weeks. Because I think children should learn a foreign language much earlier.
Mhm.
And I was never in the 3rd grade because the teachers didn't have any idea about children that couldn't speak the language. They just spoke louder. So I got 2 years and in the 4th grade. So I think that's why I never was good in arithmetic.
Well, honey, thank you.
So much.
Thank you. You're pretty good at talking.
I think they need to.
Oh, you need to go ahead.
Yeah.
Have your meeting.
And I think you've got to get going too.
Okay.
Kathy needs to get someplace.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At another meeting, I can bring the book back
Yeah.
at 11 or
Bring
something. and then- Huh?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Just visiting.
Honey, I don't mean to dwell on your age too much, but I hope at 85, I can speak with the
Yes.
clarity that you're speaking with at 95.
Yes.
Well, I've been lucky. The only time I've been sick is here. Kathy's a nurse, but you can take care of me.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.